Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Today we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 11, entitled Lord Krishna's Entrance into Dwarka. Text 22. This section of Srimad Bhagavatam we find prior to this chapter Krishna accepting the role as the charioteer of Arjuna at the time of the historical battle of Kurukshetra. Krishna, who is equal to everyone, samoham sarva bhuteshu, sees the eternal relationship of the soul that he has with every living being, descends into this world to give without discrimination everyone the opportunity to return to their eternal blissful relationship with him. As Srila Prabhupada explains in this purport, it remains with the living being to accept this or not. Abrahma bhuvana loka punar avartanorjana mamupetu tukonteya punar janmana vidyate. This material existence from the highest planet, where there is the greatest prosperity, health, longevity of life, down to the lowest, they're all essentially places of suffering. Because you have to grow old, get diseased, and die. And also, everyone you love has to grow old and eventually die. So those people and those things that we try to find pleasure, love, shelter in, it's an absolute guarantee that they will be stripped away from us. Not only the things that we work so hard to achieve and the people we attach ourselves to so deeply for as friends, as family members, as lovers, but also the very medium in which we relate to these people and things, our own intelligence, and this body. Everything is inevitably stripped away. And however excellent our karma may be, it does not change the inevitable reality. Our karma changes. It determines the pleasures and pains that we endure in between birth and death. But ultimately, we die. Even the great demigods we read about, who have immensely good karma, we see even they're so many times frustrated. So often in the scriptures, the great King Indra is used as an example, because he has such power and such prestige and such wealth and such longevity. But yet, even in that state, frustrated by enemies, frustrated by temptations, fears, material world essentially is a fearful place. So Krishna descends into this world with a simple message. Real happiness is not in the illusion of the bodily concept. Real happiness is awakening to understand our true essence. Mamaivam so jivaloke jiva buddha sanatana. That we are eternal parts of Krishna. As Krishna is all attractive, our nature, to an infinitesimal degree, is all attractive. Krishna is the supreme object of our love. And when we decide by our own free will to repose our tendency to love in Krishna, it is forever. It is never diminished by the powers of time. Rather, it is forever increasing. That is happiness. That is the only happiness that could be known to the soul. Krishna descends to give us this opportunity. And he arranges for Vyasadeva, his literary incarnation, and other such great souls, Valmiki, sages, to record histories in the scriptures of the Lord's incarnations and of his great devotees, to illuminate this very simple reality. Sankhya philosophy of Kapila Dev describes such a profound analysis of material nature, the gross and subtle elements. In the Vedanta Sutra, there is such incredibly comprehensive philosophy. But what is its purpose? To remind us that Krishna is all attractive. To surrender and take shelter of that all-attractive Lord is the reality that brings real pleasure beyond birth, beyond death. Kurukshetra, the Pandavas accepted that the purpose of life is to please God. And the Kurus, headed by Duryodhana, the purpose of their life was to satisfy the unquenchable burning of envy and greed and lust and arrogance All an illusion. And interestingly, Yudhisthira Maharaj and Duryodhana, they practically had equal determination to live according to what they wanted to achieve. Yudhisthira Maharaj was Dharmaraj. Whatever the circumstance, he would never give up the honor of Dharma. Meanwhile, Duryodhana, whatever happened, he would never give up the pursuance of his envy and greed. Even Krishna himself came with a message to him. And this Leela of Hastinapur is not like Vrindavan Leela, where due to Yogamaya people were not recognizing that he's God. Krishna showed the Virat Rupa in a special way to Yashoda Mai, where she looked in his little mouth when he yawned. He was just suckling the milk from his mother. And when she went to put her breast in his mouth, he yawned. Little babies yawn. And she looked inside his mouth and she saw the universe. And instead of becoming overcome at that time with awe and reverence toward the absolute truth, as a mother, she was worried that he might be sick or something like that. You know how doctors, they always look in your mouth when they want to check you up? They put a stick on your tongue and say, you know, make some sound, and they put a little flashlight or a little torch in your mouth to see what's in there. That's a way, if there's something wrong in there, it means there's some illness. So Yashoda Mai saw the planets and the mountains and the demigods and the oceans. By her Yogamaya motherly love, she didn't understand. She thought, is there something, my child, is something wrong? So that was due to love. But Mahamaya is very different. Krishna covers our intelligence because of our envy. Krishna went to the palace of Duryodhana and revealed his universal form. Duryodhana wanted to arrest Krishna and put him in prison, just to discourage the Pandavas. So Krishna reciprocated by showing his universal form, and all the soldiers ran away, and Duryodhana was looking. So he understood. Duryodhana understood to some extent that Krishna is the Lord. But still, because of that envy and greed, he couldn't listen as Krishna practically pleaded with him to do the right thing. So ultimately the war was inevitable. There was dharma against adharma. And like in this world, adharma had more physical strength, had greater numbers, had a more powerful arsenal, had incredibly mighty soldiers like Bhishma and Drona, Karna. And Arjuna, who accepted Krishna as his charioteer, had Krishna bring that chariot between the two armies. And wanting to speak the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna told Arjuna, just see who is assembled now. And by those words, he invoked within Arjuna such devotional sentiments. He couldn't bear the idea of killing anyone, because he saw everyone as relatives and friends, and understood the sufferings and miseries caused upon such innocent children and women and common people when there's war. Krishna spoke Bhagavad Gita. Then there was the great battle. And by the mercy of Krishna and only Krishna, the Pandavas were victorious. They came back to Hastinapur, and Yudhisthira Maharaj was coronated in his rightful position as the emperor. Krishna was leaving. He was going to leave back for Dwarka. And Kunti, the mother of the Pandavas, she frantically approached him and offered her beautiful prayers. Those prayers that were so dear to Srila Prabhupada and all of our acharyas. Prayers that the greatest sannyasis, babas, paramhamsas have worshipped over the millenniums. The simple prayers of a motherly devotee. Let calamities come again and again, if they help me remember you. But now that you are leaving us, without seeing you, what do we care for all of this? As we were discussing the fruit vendor yesterday, she didn't care about her jewels. The treasure of her life was to see Krishna, to reciprocate and please Krishna. So Queen Kunti, she was, even though her children were persecuted, exiled, and suffered so bad, and she suffered the most watching it. And now they're safe, they're empowered, they have everything, from nothing to everything, from disgrace to the highest glory on earth, from living in the jungle with nothing to being king, which means on behalf of God, the proprietor of everything on the earth. But she was not concerned with this little basket of jewels in the kingdom of the earth, because Krishna was leaving. And she offered her prayers. And Krishna pacified her. And then Yudhisthira came up, the king. And instead of being happy, I have won the war, now I am the king, my rightful position has been achieved. He was blaming himself for all the suffering that everyone caused. Just so that I can achieve the throne, look at what has been done. He said, there's no material solution to my problem. The sins that I have committed cannot be washed away by any type of prayashchita in this world, any more than you can filter muddy water by putting it through mud, or by purifying a bottle of wine with wine. Similarly, no type of sacrifice or animal sacrifice could touch the amount of suffering I'm responsible for. He wanted to go to Kurukshetra to see the extent of the miseries and the death and the weeping widows and children. So they all went, the Pandavas and Krishna. And there Bhishma Dev was patiently waiting for Krishna. Why I'm telling this story? Because His Holiness Shukadev Maharaj is here. And some years ago, every year, at least a couple times, we would visit all these places, especially Bhishma Kund, where this Leela took place. And Bhishma was laying in that bed of arrows. By the way, Govinda Prabhu chose this verse today, so it was not a planned thing. It just happened to be. Krishna could have spoken to Yudhisthira Maharaj the highest truths, but Krishna is more pleased giving credit to his devotees. He had Bhishma speak to Yudhisthira Maharaj. Such profound wisdom. A large sector of Mahabharata is the teachings of Bhishma to Yudhisthira. And the essence of those teachings has been spoken by Shukadev Goswami in Srimad Bhagavatam. I remember my dear godbrother Vishnu Jana Swami Maharaj. He asked our beloved Srila Prabhupada that great personalities like Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Bhakti Vinod Thakur, they could have spread the holy name to every town and village in the world. They were so empowered. Bhakti Vinod was so empowered, and Lord Chaitanya is the Supreme Lord Himself. Why didn't they do it? And Srila Prabhupada, with such humility, he responded, "They saved that service for me." Krishna loves to do the greatest things through his devotees. And interestingly, Prabhupada said that, but then on other occasions, he took no credit for anything he did. He gave all credit to all of us because of the surrender and sacrifice of his followers. So Srila Prabhupada was taking greater credit seeing his followers do something wonderful. That's parampara. And it begins with Krishna, who in this case wanted to speak for all time to the world this wisdom through Bhishma. So Yudhisthira Maharaj was enlightened and pacified, and they went back to Hastinapur, and then Krishna was leaving again. And all the different queens and people of Hastinapur were running out to Krishna. They couldn't bear the fact that he was leaving. And he departed for Dwarka. Now, Krishna was away from Dwarka for quite a while. When he came to the outskirts of the city, he blew his conch shell. And that, everybody recognized that conch shell. Krishna is so special. Just like Brahmacharis, you're in the back somewhere in the ashram. Many of you people don't know what the ashram looks like back there. The secret hiding place of brahmacharis. And Pujari blows conch shell. Now, do any of you know who's blowing the conch shell just by hearing it? Any of you know? Sometime in the next room, just next to this altar, and sometimes, I'm up late in Mangal Arati, I hear the conch shell, as I'm taking my bath, and I'm just coming, and I'm supposed to be a big spiritual person or whatever people think of me, some people, and I don't know who the pujari is. I'm hearing the conch shell. That's because the pujaris are the servants of the servants of the servants of the Lord. But when Krishna blows his conch shell, every single living entity in the whole of Dwarka recognize that's Krishna. Wouldn't you love to hear that conch shell? Well, you must be Dwarkavasis then. Brijavasis don't want to hear the conch shell. They want to hear the flute. And all the cowherd boys, they all have flutes. But when Krishna plays his flute, everyone knows this is Krishna's flute. He plays the same notes, but the power of Krishna's love is so attractive in whatever form it takes. So similarly, we read in the first chapter of Bhagavad Gita, every one of the warriors in Kurukshetra had their conch shells. And they're all expert at blowing. So in Dwarka, there were probably hundreds of millions of conch shell blowers. Some were great warriors and kings and princes. But when they heard Krishna, Krishna's back, that sound. Because there's that intimacy. There's that love. Bhaktya tvananya shakya aham evam vidurachana. Krishna says it's only by undivided bhakti, devotion, that I can be understood as I am, standing before you. When there's love, we could recognize this is Krishna's flute, or this is Krishna's conch shell. We could recognize Krishna as being non-different than his name only through bhakti. Many different people chant mantras and names of the Lord. But to actually understand the all-attractive love of God within his name, that he's non-different than his name, to understand the form, the qualities, the pastimes, the mercy, the abode of the Lord in the name Krishna, Radha, is only possible when Krishna reveals it to us. It's not an intellectual feat. Through jnana or through knowledge, we can discriminate what is Krishna, what is Maya, what is illusion, what is reality. But to actually experience Krishna in the sound vibration, in the form of the deity, in our own hearts, in the name, is only when Krishna reveals himself. Krishna is very, very clear, very precise. It's only through undivided devotion that I reveal myself. The people of Dwarka loved Krishna. So upon hearing that conch shell, they were absolutely thrilled. It was like the sun of happiness rising after a long, long night of darkness and separation. And they all came to greet Krishna. And we find in this verse, all different people were coming to greet Krishna. There was Ugrasena, who was the king. There was Balaram, his brother. Sakrura, his friend and devotee. Then there were queens, Rukmini, and others like that. They were all coming to meet Krishna. And there were also Brahmins and farmers and poets and prostitutes. They were all coming to offer their love to Krishna, each in unique ways according to their positions. And Krishna reciprocated with them just exactly according to their differentiated roles and natures. The Brahmins were chanting hymns and mantras to invoke blessings upon Krishna and to show their love in that way. And Ugrasena, the elders, they came and they were blessing Krishna, and Krishna was receiving their blessings. Some were coming in beautiful royal elephants. Some were well dressed. And Krishna was reciprocating with each of them in a very unique and special way. But it was all bhava. It was all ecstatic love. He describes here that people like Ugrasena and his elders, they weren't bowing down to Krishna, even though they knew he was God, because that's not the way Krishna wanted them to serve him. Ugrasena served Krishna by accepting Krishna's humility. Krishna bowed down to him, and he accepted it. And the Brahmins, they don't need to bless Krishna, but Krishna wanted their blessings because that's how they show their love. So Krishna bowed, he accepted the blessings of the Brahmins as the Brahmins gave it. And to friends, he was embracing them very affectionately, and they were embracing him. To a little more distant friends, he was shaking hands with them. To people in junior positions, they were bowing down to Krishna, and Krishna was giving them blessings. Everyone. Even the Chandalas. Now this is interesting. What are Chandalas doing in Dwarka? Why would residents of Dwarka want to eat dogs? You can ask His Holiness Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu Maharaj when he gives class about this. But Krishna makes things so exciting, doesn't it? Some things are just inconceivable. There were Chandalas who were, by social standards, very much outcasts. Whether they actually ate dogs or not, that, you know, I don't think so. But they were from that realm of society. And prostitutes. Prostitutes are not honored within society. They're considered, it's one of the lowest possible occupations. But it's there. And even they were running to Krishna with love and devotion. And Krishna was honoring and respecting them. When Krishna lifted Govardhan Hill, 7 days and 7 nights, after lifting the hill, all different people were coming up to Krishna. The cows, they were licking him, and Krishna was patting them. And Raktak and the different servants, they were coming and offering some menial services to Krishna, and Krishna was accepting it. And the little cowherd boys, they were coming up and they were dancing and they were embracing Krishna, and Krishna was embracing them and laughing and joking with them. Balaram, how they embraced together as brothers. And the Brahmins, they were chanting all kinds of mantras to protect him and empower him for the next adventure in his life. Krishna was accepting their blessings. And Yashoda, Rohini, Nanda Maharaj, they were like mothers. Rohini, they were inspecting every part of his body to see if he was all right. And Yashoda Mai, with tears of motherly love, was massaging his finger, massaging his arm, thinking how much pain and fatigue he must be suffering from holding it up so long. And Krishna wasn't telling her, I'm the Supreme Personality of God. I don't need you to massage my fingers and my arm and to feed me all this kind of stuff. No, he was appearing to Yashoda like, I am tired. I need you as my mother to massage me. So he was accepting that role. So each person, Krishna was very uniquely reciprocating with. But in all cases, he was identifying everyone as his eternal servants. And in this case, his eternal loving servants. Achintya Beda Beda Tattva. The inconceivable unity in diversity. And the balance of these two principles of oneness and difference is the heart of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Siddhanta. Because this Achintya Beda Beda Tattva accommodates the deepest, highest exchanges of love. It's the perfect synthesis or balance of all the great conclusions of Vedic philosophy. If we go too much into the oneness, then the idea of ras is disturbed. If Krishna is just saying, everybody's my part and parcel, everybody's one, then he'll treat everyone the same way. Why is he bowing to one person and putting his lotus feet on the head of someone else? Why is he embracing one person and he's shaking hands with another? He's treating the Chandalas and Ugrasena according to their role. And that was the that's the sweetness of bhakti. That variegatedness. They're all seeing Krishna from a different perspective, and he's seeing every living being and treating every living being in a very unique way. Hanuman does not want to dance with Ram in the moonlight. If Ram played his flute and called Hanuman to the Bamsiva tree, Hanuman would not be comfortable with that. He's willing to serve Ram in any way, but Ram is going to ask him to serve in ways that Hanuman's happy. And similarly, Krishna doesn't ask the gopis, Lalita, Vishaka, that go pick up a mountain in the Himalayas and bring it across the ocean. What? So Hanuman's greatest devotee and gopis are greatest devotees. And Rama and Krishna are the same personality, taking different roles, but relating to each person according to their uniqueness. That's where Ras is. The nectar of loving exchange in the uniqueness that Krishna reciprocates with each and every one of us. So Krishna sees the oneness, that we're all eternal souls, parts and parcels. And in the Vaishnava Siddhanta, we understand that in the spiritual world, there's infinite variegatedness. We are all one, in that we're all like sun rays that are of the same quality as the sun planet. And we see that inherentness, that every living being is part and parcel of Krishna. So we're all qualitatively one, quantitatively small. But if we dive deep into the Vaishnava conception, in general, we're qualitatively one with the Lord. But qualitatively, there's infinite variegatedness too.